All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Car Talk, where we talk about everything in our scene, our industry, our culture. I'm your host, Big Mike, right here with,
Ryan Bossery from Rywire.
and today we're gonna talk about what it's like to be a car enthusiast, a builder, etc., from when you're single versus when you're in a relationship. Okay, and I know a lot of you are like, "What?" Because it's serious. Like, there's a big change when you start to get with somebody. Whatever age, you could be teenagers, you're in your 20s, your 30s, or whatever. If you were just dedicating your life to the homies and to cars, it's not really quite that simple when you get in a relationship. So we're kind of going to discuss both our personal experiences and the things that we've seen, and how that has played out for people, right? And I mean, the dangerous part is if you end up dating someone who, in maybe other aspects, is great, but just doesn't. The cars don't resonate with them, and it doesn't. And the worst thing I think is when they just are sort of just tolerating your hobby.
Right.
If they just view it as like toys and it's a hobby,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a certain point where they might roll their eyes
And
when you're like, we need to make it to this event.
Right.
We need to drive up one day before. And you've seen that where a lot of people end up falling out of how serious they were.
Because they realize that they want the girl more than the car.
Yeah, and that's a real
Or-
thing.
yeah.
I get it, right? For you guys, if you immediately know what we're talking about, don't even wait. Pause it, go to the comments and start sharing because we're going to go over it. But I mean, Ryan, for you, for example, right? So Ryan's a really good example because in the midst of all of this stuff that he's doing, business, he's gone from single. I mean, Ryan and I have talked about dating stories, the good, the bad, the funny, the scary, like stalker ass crazy women. No, don't take it personally, women. But then meeting someone good and then continuing,
Right.
and then now you're engaged,
Yeah.
which is a major thing.
Mm.
So I mean, for you, right? Because I remember working with you 16 hours a day, right? Coming over here after you've done a work day and we do another 6 hours. It's not quite so possible anymore.
Yeah. Not as easy.
It's not as easy.
Yeah.
So how, as a person who went from having I've been single for this amount of years and I could work whatever I want, to wanting to give time to another person and all of the stuff that comes with that, how do you balance that out?
Well, for me, if you just want to we'll talk about it and just do like a run through.
Sure.
We could start like after college.
Okay.
So getting out of college. What made me actually drop out of college
Okay.
was my business.
Yes.
Because I started to get really serious about it. In college, I guess I didn't have as much success with like finding the right girl.
Sure.
And that's actually kind of a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
So,
It could have been a big distraction from you starting the business.
Oh yeah, for sure. So what ended up happening, instead of like maybe some people might see it as you go to college and then you don't study as much because maybe you're seeing a girl,
Sure.
right? For me, it was like I'm not studying as much and I'm falling out of college because I'm starting up the business.
Sure.
So literally from, let's call it, I don't remember exactly the age, but let's say that it was about, 21, 22 or something like that.
Okay.
23, I don't know. When I kind of like dropped out of college,
Okay.
I was at San Jose State and I was like taking less and less and less courses, and I'm just at San Jose State for a longer and longer amount of time. And I finally was like, I got to really devote time to the business.
Yeah.
And in that time, I kind of decided that I was not going to devote any time to relationships.
You made that conscious decision.
I actually did.
Yes.
At first, it was like, oh, well, naturally, I'm just like not really like trying.
Okay.
I'm not going to the bars and trying to meet women, or I'm not, internet dating wasn't as popular then, but
Okay.
I'm not like, on whatever site
Sure.
trying to find people. And I just was like, you know what, like I don't really need this right now. It's a distraction. Like of course you desire it, you want to meet people of the opposite sex or
Yeah.
same or whatever, but in my case, I just kind of said it's more important for me to just continue my business.
Okay.
So I just kind of shut all that stuff off, and for a good it was probably like 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like there was random girls, but nothing that was serious.
Serious, sure.
Like nothing that I would settle down for or anything like that. Business was very important.
Yeah.
But it's my 20s.
Yes.
That was when it should be the most important, right? If you're gonna set something up for the rest of your life, or how I saw it, I'm setting myself up for the rest of my life here. This is like something that it's a career.
See, but I think right there's a certain amount of focus and vision. It wasn't like, I want to do my business and also have fun.
Right.
You were like, I'm going to not even have fun to set this up for the future.
I would work 20 hours a day sometimes. Like it would be, like even when, even up until like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
It was like pretty intense.
Like you leaving NorCal to drive down to stay with me and work and then drive back up. You couldn't just do that if you're in a relationship.
It would be a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
Or if you had a child even.
That's another one, when you have children, that changes everything.
Yeah.
Right? Which we'll get to that.
This is like a slow progression, right? So the first thing is getting into a relationship. So I'm just like, I don't want anything to do with a relationship.
Yeah.
If I meet a girl and it's like a quick thing, then cool.
Yeah.
Back to the business.
Yes.
That's kind of how it worked for like I said, like 10 years or something.
Yeah.
Which is like, in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, wow, that was
right. That sounds super long.
Yeah.
But I mean, the time moves when you're busy, when you're grinding.
Yeah.
It just,
dude, and
it just goes.
You're working on cars. You're in the garage. You're with your friends. You're working on cars. You're doing you're at the track. Then all of a sudden now it's like, oh yeah, let's go to a track day. If you have like a free day, you go to a track day.
Yes.
It's not like, oh, you have a free day, you have to go somewhere with your wife or your girlfriend or like, take the kids to practice or it's a completely it's a 180. It's a lot of free time when you're single. When you're single.
Yeah.
So getting up to more about this point in time, I realized, okay, now that we have employees with a business, and I have people that can kind of cover my back, maybe about maybe like 7 years ago. So I'm like 37. So about right when I was about 30, I kind of made a decision that I'm gonna start trying to look.
You're gonna put yourself back out there.
I'm gonna put myself out there a little bit. I kind of slowly started doing that.
Okay.
And then internet dating was a big thing at that point.
Sure.
And that was a big start for me to actually start meeting women, going out on dates. I'd work all day and then go home and clean up and go on a date.
Sure, yeah. I remember some of these stories.
Yeah, I would maybe do
how did that go yesterday?
Yeah, I would randomly just meet up with these girls and hang out, and it works or it didn't work.
Yeah.
But after a couple years, I found one that is really cool.
Yes.
And now she's currently still, we're still together.
Yes.
And things did definitely change. It was a kind of a slow progression, because when you started dating, it's already changing.
Yes.
I'm leaving early from the shop to go on this dinner date.
Sure.
And that was like I said, around a 2-year. I had met relationships for a month or two or whatever. Nothing really stuck, but you're leaving the shop early. You're taking a lot more time to personal time.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I got to a point where I was able to do that comfortably and not have to worry about it as much, that
because you had set the business to run.
Yeah.
Okay, so but that goes back to when you were talking about, I want to set this thing up.
Yeah, and it took 10 years to set it up.
Yes, yes. So right there, you guys, I think that's a big difference. I mean, he's talking about, I'm going to turn off this social side, this dating side, for so long to get a certain point, and then 10 years later, you feel comfortable enough with it being established to then go out and put yourself out there. I think with a lot of things, I really have this ability to see so many different things, both personally, and I was talking to Ryan earlier about, let's take the IBOC meet, right? The IBOC meet, which is now going to go by a new name, is 16 years, right? 2020, 16 years. And I've been to every meet except for maybe one. I think I missed the third one, or I don't remember. Maybe the first one, actually, but I don't know. But 15 out of 16, I believe, is where I am. And I've been hosting it for 6 years now, right? Mm-hmm. And even just going when I used to just go to now hosting, I see, and I'm sure some of you guys listening, watching right now, that it's a family thing already. Right. So some of you guys have showed up to these gatherings, these indoor shows. Some women, the ride or dies are with their men at the track.
Yeah.
Right, which is dope, right? But even just whatever, a car meet, you see someone get out, their significant other gets out, and there's a stroller, right? And there is a little one walking. And then 16 years ago, if someone had a 2-year-old, they're 18 years old.
Yeah.
I've seen people who had 6, 8, 10-year-olds. Now those guys or gals are driving in to the meet. Right. Which is a fantastic thing, and I've always been curious because you see these people, and their person's with them.
Yeah.
It's like 102 degrees, and they're out there just with them. And I've always wondered, for the men watching, did your girl beat you after, and so she just knew that that's your life, and that's just the way it is? Or have you guys had to struggle with your new relationship, that person being more just like kind of tolerating it, right? And there's a big difference between tolerating it and understanding that it's a passion, right?
Yeah.
It's difficult, right?
Yeah.
And for a lot of guys, when we were younger, cars is everything. We went to every meet, every show, every gathering.
And if a girl was down to roll,
cool,
then they can come.
And if she
wasn't, then that
still
is
going.
not gonna last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you get older, has that changed? I know a couple people are like, I'm a savage, I'm gonna do what I want, and they can take it or leave it. And that works for some people.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get older, you want to balance things out. And if somebody who compliments you in a real way but just doesn't like cars, is that a breaking point for you, or is it not? And for you, because she's not all that into cars.
She's not at all into cars.
But she comes and will not maybe help, but like totally do her thing while you work.
Yeah.
And did you guys have to talk that out?
No.
Or did it sort of just naturally occur?
I think it was a little natural. Like early on, I explained how important my hobby / my business, because it's really the same thing, how important it was to my life.
Yes.
And that she would have to understand that I'm not like, it's not like work is meeting up with the guys and drinking beers around a dyno.
Sure.
Like, I'm the one that's fixing things and getting my hands dirty and stressing out over whatever we're doing.
Yes.
So, she's seen that firsthand.
Yeah.
I mean, like, let's take right now, for example.
Yes.
I text her a minute, like a little bit before we started. I'm like, Mike's here, we're doing this. This is after work for us.
Yes.
And, I've been working all day, and she's like, okay, well, do you want food?
Yeah.
Should I make something for you
so that when you're done,
or are you already good?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I ate something. She's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll see you when I see you.
Yes.
And I mean, there's like, even last week, I got home 3 nights in a row last week at 1 a.m. Because I had a car that was just like tons of work to do.
Yes.
Right? And that's not very often.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm like waking her up,
Yeah.
And it's like, that's hard. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in that situation.
The other way around. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, really, you're not coming home? What the hell?
Yeah.
I think that she takes it like a champ, because she's just like, cool, I'm just gonna like write my story and watch TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work out and do whatever she's gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, but then we both know, whether we've seen it. We've seen some car guys we know with crazy ass relationships.
Yeah.
And like,
where it's like a fight every time.
Yes. And that's kind of what I'm wondering with you guys. Is it like that for you? And I don't know if you feel comfortable typing that out in the comments, but I mean, just share with us, because we've seen the bad side.
Yeah.
Where it's a fight. Like, I don't want you to fucking go. You don't spend enough time with me. And that's, when you're a kid, you can laugh that off. But not when you're in a real relationship, right? That's a real problem. And if that person feels unfulfilled or unhappy because you're always with, and maybe they think that what we do as car guys is just sit around. But if you're building
Yeah.
something, that's physical, right?
Right.
If you're talking to your significant other like, oh, I need to go work on the car, and it is really to just park at a house and be with each other's
And
cars
smoke cigarettes,
and just
look
chill,
and look at
that's
somebody
different.
doing work.
Yeah, look at
Which of course happens.
yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Right, and so I see the opposite where there's two people walking, one kid in the arm, one in the stroller, and like a taller one, and they're all just in the heat together. And I look at that and I'm like, that person doesn't look irritated at all. I mean,
Yeah.
they look hot,
Yeah.
but they don't look. It's just like that's just what we do.
Right. Nobody's taking it out on another person
Right.
or anything.
I mean,
like
and
that.
of course we don't know if like once they get home, we don't know that part. But then you see the ones where someone's irritated
Yeah.
that they're there. And then the ones where the guys, oh man, I'm gonna get it when I go home. Because
Yeah.
I was supposed to be back at 3, but they wanted to do a shoot after, and it's like I'm gonna get home at 7, right?
Yeah.
So you guys and ladies, right? So it's not just guy centric, right? All the ladies, if you were into cars and you met a guy, which is probably really rare, but if you met a dude and he wasn't into cars, how did you deal with it? Or did you not really like cars? And did you end up getting into it because you started dating a guy, and instead of just thinking it's like this random hobby, you started understanding there's like this chassis and this code and this motor and they sound dope. Like for the ladies, how did that work for you? And for the guys, right? In the comments, tell us. Like I'm so serious. I don't know if you get in trouble or not, but let's just be honest, right? How do you deal with it when you're single versus when you end up getting in a relationship? And does your new relationship like it, love it, or hate it, or somewhere in between?
Yeah.
Let us know, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about the segue from being in a relationship to, which you sort of touched on already, having a family, and how people balance that out. So we'll talk about that when we come back.
Hey, what's going on everybody? Ryan from Rywire here, and today I have something really, really cool to show you. What I want to show you guys is that nothing that I'm doing here is so far-fetched that you guys can't do it at home. We don't have any CNC, there's no 5-axis machine here. I'm literally just using my brain and hand tools to get a really, really cool project done. Even in the most basic conditions, a beautiful outcome can arise.
Think Bigger podcast. This is a branch of the Think Bigger project that is a brand and a movement and an ideology that was created to better the community and the culture around it. How you behave in your relationships, how you build a car, how you do anything comes from the way that you think. And if you can start there, then everything else will follow. All right, you guys, welcome back. And what we were talking about in the first segment is really just that balance for all of us car heads, what it's like when you're single versus when you're in a relationship, and how do you really balance out that? It's not a hobby to most people, it's a passion,
Right.
it's a culture,
Yeah.
right? It's an absolute
It's
car culture.
lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. And but now we're kind of getting into family, right? So being in a relationship is one thing, having children is another, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of people in this who are family people. And you either see the family at the event or you don't. And I've always been curious how that works out for you guys. But what about you, Ryan? Right? I mean, we're talking about you're in the relationship.
Right.
And how about children? Is
Right.
that something?
It's come up in discussion before.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I'm like most scared of, if you will, is how it's gonna be, because when I do things, I like commit to them.
Yes.
Like if I'm gonna build a car, I'm going to build it to the best of my abilities.
Sure.
So if I'm gonna have a child, I am going to take care of it to the best of my abilities.
As you should.
So it's scary because
How will that play out?
yeah,
With
so
it.
how many hours are there in a day? There's not enough. If I go, okay, well, I work 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because I'm down to 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I'm down to working 12 hours a day from 20
Yeah.
for the first 10 years of the business or so, down to 12. And once I have a child, that's going to be maybe down to 8 or 6.
Right.
Maybe for the first 2 years or something like that.
Sure.
So I don't know, man. Like it's something that I want to do because I would like to have one child.
Okay.
My girl is also interested in having one child, and it's something that we've talked about.
Yeah.
But it's not something that we've tried to or started to do just yet.
Sure.
And we probably would have by now, maybe talked a lot more seriously about it. But because of the times that we're in,
Yes.
with COVID and everything,
Yes.
it's a scary time for everybody. There's so much uncertainty.
Yes.
Like I know a lot of people that have had children during this time.
Okay.
Like a lot.
Yes.
I mean, even like Daryl next door.
Okay.
He just had twins.
I did not know that.
EJ just had a baby.
Yes.
I mean, there's a bunch of people that I'm even forgetting, but a lot of people have had kids in the last 6 months, 8 months, and I feel like I felt scared for those people having to be in a hospital and dealing with that.
I see.
During that time. So you get cold feet. Like, you know, at first it's like, oh, it's going to be quarantine babies. But if those people are smart, they're going to be thinking twice about doing anything right now. It's just so uncertain. So
Yeah, you know, I definitely know what you're talking about. You know, what I'm seeing with other people is, you know, you see some people, well, with school closures, right?
Right.
So if you have kids that were in school, now they're just home.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, even that's affected me a bit. David works from home 2 days a week.
Okay.
So he remotes into the computer and he processes orders and he answers the phones and stuff. And, you know, a lot of people wouldn't even know that he's not here.
Sure.
But the fact is that it's
Because he has twin girls that are home.
he has twin girls that are home. Who's going to take care of them? The babysitter is not, I don't know the whole story, but the babysitter's not taking care of them.
Okay.
His wife's been home and she's been working from home and trying to take care of the kids. But I think that, you know, he's got to work. He's got to take care of the kids too. And he's got
Sure.
to try to juggle everything.
Sure.
So-
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of that. You know, so a lot of you guys are starting, not YouTube channels. I mean, maybe some people have, but you just see more stuff like where the kids are in the garage, right? Some people have always
like
seen that.
in the background, like
Yeah.
they're just around.
They're just around, and
Yeah.
I mean, I hope you guys are able to multitask and kind of keep an eye on them. But you see how the kids are there, and you know, like, okay, let's take for example, people will know him from IG, All Motor Dan.
Dan, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
when he was restoring that ITR,
Yeah.
and if you guys don't know who we're talking about, on IG, All Motor Dan, no underscores, totally worth your time. Has been featured in Super Street. Fantastic photos of it on the track out there on the east that Al Norris did. Shout out to the homie Al. And just if you guys go backwards and look on his page about the restoration process, but you'll see adorable videos. Like the first time it was put together and wired up, his little daughter is in the seat and he's like, okay, baby, like push the button. And she's like helping him figure out if you got the horn button working, right? Just cute, right? And
Yeah.
little ones where they're like standing in the engine bay. And I see a lot of you guys doing that. And I have to ask myself, when you see that, like, then you're like, oh, that'd be amazing bonding time and I get to work on the car. But if you're like pulling a motor, if you're like wrenching or like banging a
There's
ball
like a
joint,
kid right there.
yeah, that's a little bit different, right? Because of course you see the cuteness online, but for those of you that have babies, and you have toddlers, how does that work? Are you okay with putting the car seat in the back if your car has fumes and smells like gas, right? How does that work? Like, how do people balance that out, right?
Right.
Because a lot of us are you talked about establishing a business in a world and a hobby that you loved. You knew you wanted to make a business, a life out of it.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, I'm a diehard car person, an enthusiast, and all of that. And it is not hobby. I actually find the word hobby to be almost offensive
Yeah.
because it's like belittling.
Yeah.
Like, you play with Hondas?
Yeah, it's
right?
almost like
Aren't you a little old for that?
Yeah.
And it's just like, fuck no. Like, you don't get too old for something you love, right?
Right.
And you know, I mean, I've done a Datsun as well. I love all these kind of cars, but just using that as an example.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of wondered, like, do your significant others' parents ever say, when are you gonna stop messing with the cars? Are they able to understand the in-laws, the significant others? Do they understand exactly how deep this runs? Because for a lot of us, whether you make a business out of it, or you become a figurehead, or you're just there at every event, at every show, for the fun, the people, to see the builds, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And do they get it, or do they not get it? And if they don't, how do you deal with that? And if they do, was it an easy transition to help them understand how serious it is, or are you still struggling with that? And I get what you're saying.
Is there like a certain accomplishment that you maybe made that now they go, oh,
I get it.
Well, okay.
That's a good point, whether it be a magazine or winning some car show.
Right, exactly. Like winning something, a race or whatever the case may be. And then, okay, well, now we get it.
Yeah, because, so look, winning a race is a perfect example, because track days, guys who track I have a lot of respect for that, because it's way expensive to track.
Yeah.
Right, consistently.
Mm-hmm.
All the expendables and the potential for breaking stuff, but you're talking, it's not like there's a track close by.
Yeah, and the fact that you're going midweek to an event that's the
Right.
entire day.
Yes.
That you're maybe staying the night before somewhere.
Yes.
And then when are you working?
Right.
So then it costs a lot of money just all around.
Oh yeah, and so I've always kind of wondered how that works. So for the people that track, do they understand that you're chasing a time, like to personal best or to podium at an event? And do they understand like that because like you take a couple of people like Graham Downey, right? You're talking about his wife and 2 kids are running all the boys. Shout out to Graham, his little boys.
I remember when Graham. I used to go to the track with Graham before he even met
her.
Yeah. Before he even met
and
her.
so when I met him, he was married, and I think the little one was little. And then over a couple times. Now I haven't seen the family in a couple years now.
No, I haven't seen him in like 12.
But I mean, seeing them at the track, with the rig, the wife's cool, the little kids are totally comfortable around jacks and cars and noises. They don't even get scared when like a super loud car drives by them. I think that's amazing, but that's definitely not realistic for a lot of people.
Right. In his case, though, his wife was into cars before she even met him.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go.
So then it's like it's just made to be like a car family.
Yes.
But then there's going to be the ones like myself, I guess you could say, where it's like she never. If I wasn't a car guy, she would have never gave a shit about cars.
Yeah.
Right. And then there would be somewhere in between.
So, okay, that's a perfect example. Then you got like Buff Ryan from the IBOG meet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, his wife like just tolerates the fact that he has like an Impala, an ITR, a Porsche, and a Tacoma, and a 4Runner, and then something that'll just rotate, or a Tundra, and it's just like, I'm sure she kind of likes it, but it's like,
Yeah, she's like...
And I mean, and shout out to Annette, like, I know her. I'm just saying, like, that's a real thing. Like, they're not always going to get how you just dropped 20 and then another 20 to build it.
Yeah, or do you have maybe a significant other that's like, oh yeah, you could spend $100,000
as long as I can.
As long as I can buy whatever I want for $100,000. Like,
how is that?
So that's the thing too. Like, I can justify it because I go, oh well, no, babe, it's for my business.
Yes.
Oh well, yeah, it's for your business.
True. But for that's a really good one. Is it like that? Is your significant other saying, all right, that's cool, but if you can spend that much, then I can spend this much on shoes, right? A purse or purses or something. And do you consider that fair? Or are you just like, we can't really quite afford for you to do that, but we can afford for me to do this? That's a really good one. But like the whole family environment, it's amazing because we get to see people whose kids, like Mark Arsenal, right?
Yeah.
From Fat Lace Illest, right? He has this EG build now. He's had a lot of crazy cars, if you guys, know. And right now there's a really cool, simple EG that he's putting together for his kid.
Yeah.
And then, shout out to ATS, Fred, for example, right? Jalen, he's been coming around.
He was like, just
And
little
now,
baby.
well, now he's taller than all of us.
Yeah.
It's not really that difficult to be taller than us, but that's not the point right now. And he's got his own car, and he's been around it so long. You know, Dad's Cerakoting, and the homies and the uncles, right? Because you know ATS garage life, you know.
Yeah.
And so he grew up in it literally. And then Chris has the kids, and you know, and so it's been really cool to see that kind of thing. But for some people, family meant the end. You don't see them anymore. Some of those people are pioneers, and they're just not around, right? And some of them don't want to admit it, but it's because of who they got in a relationship with. And
True.
I've always wondered, was it a good transition or a bad one? And it can be kind of personal, but we're really curious. You know, I'm in one position, Ryan's in another, and some of you guys are like, you know, with 1, 2, 3 kids, and you're like, oh, I can answer all of that. And other people are like, that's a damn good question. How do we balance it out?
Yeah, or that this could be something to come that a younger person needs to start thinking about.
Yeah.
Like how like are you really like down with the culture?
Yes.
Like before, like who is your bae?
Yeah, no.
Who is your bae?
That's a damn good point. Like,
it's true though.
Is it really that hardcore, or is it just a thing to do, people to be around,
Right.
something to spend money on, or are you for real? Are you like a lifer, as they would say?
Yeah.
Right? And or you meet someone, and I mean, she might be the best ever. He might be the best ever. You know, whatever you're into. And so, do you decide, you know what? I would rather just do that, something else with them, and the cars just sort of fade away. You know, it's a good one. And you know, guys, as always, just take the time to share. These are not rhetorical questions. Like, we really want to know, because we can all learn from each other. That's what it's all about. So in this situation, how has it, being a car enthusiast, a hardcore lifestyle scene, whatever you want to call it, how has it been for those of you versus from single versus being in a real relationship? And how do you balance it out? Is it tolerated by them, or is it appreciated, or something in between, right?
Yeah.
So let us know. We always take the time to read your comments. Let us know. We're gonna respond to them and share with us, right? I don't know if you can share some real detail. You might not want them to see it, but if you can, do it. And Ryan and I, we're gonna read it, okay? And so we appreciate you guys joining us. Car Talk, right? You know how it is. What do we say?
Follow? Oh wait, what? Say what?
Smash
Oh yeah.
the like button. Like,
Yeah.
I see some people putting the little thing, and it has got a little arrow, and it clicks on it. Click on that shit, and you know, share with us your ideas, your stories, things you want us to talk about, and we will do that. All right. So thank you for being here, Ryan.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one.